Hello, this is Will from Fluent English, and today we're going to be talking about prepositions of place, at, in, on. Guys, when we're talking about prepositions of a place, in English we say the school is on Bay Street. Some people might say at Bay Street, but basically that's not correct. So the correct preposition to use in that specific sentence is on. The school is on Bay Street. Okay, so when we're talking about prepositions of place, in English we might find some examples and they might look difficult or different. So this is three quick examples that you might find out. Maybe you hear something like that. So in English we say the school is on Bay Street. They live at 10 Park Road. And the museum is in the city. So you might find out people that they say the school is at Bay Street, and that is not correct. And also you might find out that they say they live in Park Road. It should be on. And the museum is in the city, not on the city. So another example is that you can say where you live. I live at 20 Canova Street in an apartment on the first floor. On, in, at. We call them prepositions. In English also you might find out multiple prepositions. By, with, for, ever, under, of, and to. However, today we're only going to be talking about on, in, at. Most likely in English, when they talking about prepositions of place, they only mention on, in, at. However, I would like to go ahead and add by together. So we're gonna be seeing some uses that by also have as a preposition of place. We're gonna be taking a closer look to these tiny but common words in the English language. And actually we're gonna use it, or we're gonna focus on how to use these words to talk about specific locations and places where things are. And sometimes, or something that we might take in consideration, is that there's not a specific rule in order for you to use them. Most likely, if you take a look, you might be able to use each with different samples and words. However, I'm going to try to explain it as best as I can, so that way you will be able to identify when to use it and when not to. Let's say that you would like to ask a question and it's related to the car or to your car. So you can say, am I at the car? Am I in the car? Or am I on the car? So the first sentence basically is referring to if you are located close to your car. Am I at the car location? Am I in the car when you are inside of a car? Am I on the car, which is actually related to if you like on the top of the car, maybe if you go up and you sit on the car. So that might be a way in order for you to identify most likely when to use it. That is, in my opinion, a good way in order for you to know when to use it. You identify the time or what you exactly would like to say. Because if you start guessing around which one is the correct one, unless that you are a really lucky person, you will be like making a lot of mistakes at the moment that you express using prepositions of place. And I don't recommend also like translating the prepositions on your language or your native language, because it might be a hassle for you. Another recommendation I have is that actually you are not supposed to learn how to use the prepositions of places by itself. It's better if you learn how to use it together with the other words. Like when you say in the morning, At night, it depends on. So if you take a look, um, those are examples that you can use in order for you to guide yourself and how to use prepositional places. Another tip that you can have is, watching TV series. You can use Netflix, you can use Spotify or YouTube, any kind of application of a streaming application. Start looking for songs, videos, movies, series, and take a look on the way native speakers use that preposition of places. So that would be also a good way in order for you to guide yourself and how to use them. You can also read the newspaper. How about reading a book? How about reading the magazines? So in this type of writing things, you might find out a good examples about how to use it, when to use it, the words that are linked together. Because let's say the newspaper is this type of writing that is focused on everybody. So rich people, poor people, it doesn't matter what type of education you have, where you come from, you will be able to understand what the newspaper is saying. And if you take a closer look, you might find out the preposition of places everywhere on the newspaper, because they're talking about things that happen in different locations in specific places. So by reading the newspaper, you will be able to understand a lot of things and the way they used this type of words. Let's start with in, which is actually this preposition that refers to being within, inside the edges. So I will give you some examples about how in could be used. So remember, like containers, enclosed places, things like that. So I will give you some examples now. For example would be, I got the key in my pocket. I got the key in my pocket. Another example you might find out in order for you to use in as a preposition of place is, let's say that somebody is visiting you, like, and you would like to offer them something. So you tell them, hey Joe, there's some milk in the fridge. So if you want, you can take a cup. Maybe you can, if you would like to drink water or juice, there's some also in the fridge. There's some juice in the fridge. Let's say that you're looking for something that your sister left, but you don't know where she left it. So you ask your mother, Mom, where Nancy left my notebook? And your mother answers, she left it in the top drawer. Let's say you're drinking coffee in the morning and someone asks you if you have some coffee left. You might answer, there is nothing left in my cup. There is nothing left in my cup. And actually, if you think about it, this is not a way in order for you to get lost, I'm sorry, when it comes to inside things. Because if you have a cup, if you have a fridge, if you have a car, you can say it is in the car, referring that is inside the car. It's outside, the edges of the cup and things like that help you to identify when to use in. However, there's some examples in which you don't find the edges, but you can use in. You can use in to refer about buildings or rooms, places that surround you, and you are like in the middle of the walls and things like that. It's like the example I mentioned before, the car. The car has clear edges. However, that doesn't mean that it doesn't have edges. So when you are in your car, you are inside the car. So that's the reason why you say in the car. When it comes to places, you can use it in the following way. Can you take the seat in the waiting room, please? In the waiting room, you see? Because the waiting room is basically a place that surrounds you, and the seat is in there. So can you wait in the waiting room, please? Something that happens usually is you forget something. You forget something. So let's say you forgot your bag. So I left my bag in your office. I left my bag in your office. This is another example you can use, and it's not a place. It's a place. It's not a room. It's not a building. However, it's an example that must go with in. Why don't we have a picnic in the park? It's a question that you might ask to your friends. Why don't we have a picnic in the park? There's another places in which the ages are not so clear. However, you can use in areas, regions, cities. So I will give you 3 examples with in related to areas, regions, and cities. I'm filming this video in Dominican Republic. I grew up in Santo Domingo. Holidaying in France is easier if you speak French. Another example you can use with in is, let's say Constanza is a small village in the mountains. We're going for a drive in the country. Lots of people love swimming in the lake. So you can use in with is when you are surrounded by people. Let's say that he works in the finance team, surrounded by people. He's got selected to play in the national team. However, there's another example that you might take into consideration, which is actually when it's related to a special teams. Let's say that on the school they have a board to recognize the people that work really hard. So you might be thinking by now that the correct way to say it is he is in the board. However, the correct way to say it is saying he is on the board. They are on the committee. We can also use in to refer about liquids, to refer about what they contain. Careful, there's a lot of chili in that sauce. There's a lot of sugar in soft drinks. Talk about on. On is used to talk about things that are in surfaces, like surfaces. My phone is on the table. If I had a painting on my bag, I could say, you can see a painting on the wall. So you can use on in order for you to ask questions like, can you write it on that piece of paper? Also, you can use on in order for you to talk about flat surfaces. The supermarket is on the corner of Main Street. Nice is on the south coast of France. Also, the idea of flat surfaces include oceans, rivers, lakes, water in general. So you can say, what is that on the lake or on the water? So referring to the thing that is on the surface of the water. Or you can also use another example, which is, we'll take you out on the lake. Meaning that maybe we have a boat, we have something in order for us to go on that surface. So now let's talk about the preposition at, which is actually used for a specific places or point in space. If Sarah still's at school, I'll meet you at the bus stop. Turn left at the traffic light. At it is also used to refer to public places and shops, things like that. So you can say, I studied design at college, school, university. Or you can say, let's meet at the station. An example you can use is that we have to stop at the supermarket on the way home. or maybe there was a crazy guy at the library today. We also use at with addresses. So you can say they live at 14 Eagle Road. I'll meet you at the corner of Beach Street in Park Road. So basically at that specific position, I'll meet you. You can also say, I had coffee at Helen's house. You know, you were on her house. Something really important to take into consideration, that is not getting confused between at and with. Let's say the last example that we use was I had a coffee at Helen's house. However, you can also say I had a coffee with Helen. So at Helen's house means that you were at Helen's house, but not necessarily with Helen. You could be maybe with her sister or her brother, her mother, someone. However, when you say, I had a coffee with Helen, basically you're specifying that you were specifically taking that coffee with her. We can use that with events. So, simple. We met at a party, or he's speaking at the conference this week. With all the past examples, at is specifically used to talk about places or specific points in space. With the examples that we already saw, basically you have at, in, on, prepositions of place explained with examples. However, I would like to go ahead and take a look over the rules. I, we can say that is a one-dimensional word that you can use to refer to a specific place. So think of a map. Imagine that this is a map. So you will refer to that specific place or point in that surface that you have. So that is at, one-dimensional. So on is more a two-dimensional preposition, because you have a flat surface and then you refer to that thing or a person in relation to that surface. So in is a more three-dimensional thing, because actually when you use in, you need to think about the space of the thing that is surrounding that specific thing that you're talking about. I would like to talk about something that you might take into consideration, and is actually that we have some great areas when we talk about preposition of places. What is a great area? Basically, the great area is this. It's not black. It's not white. It's this point in the middle. It's not totally clear. So let's say with the preposition on, it's on the corner, or it's at the corner. Think about it. Here is another example. The museum is on the south side of the city. Your seat is on the left side. So every time that you're using this type of things in order for you to apply, to talk or to speak, left side, right side, so you can use on. Is on the right side, is on the right, is on the left side. Two more examples about that. I'll meet you at the corner of Beach Street and Park Road. And also you can say I saw it in the corner of the room. Something I would like to clarify is that these great areas are not referring to X sections. It's just referring to some different ways in which you can use these prepositions. So let's use the example write it. So I can say write it on the paper, write it in your notebook, write it at the top of the page, or I can say write it in the corner, referring to the paper sometimes where you put the dates in this thing. So if you have a notebook like this, and I ask you to write it on the paper, you can write it anywhere in the sentence. If I ask you to write it in the notebook, you can also write it in any page that you would like to. If I ask you to write it at the top of the page, I'm asking you to put it right here. However, if I ask you to put it in the corner of the paper, you can go here or you can go here. In English, also we say, I'm in the car, but also we say, I'm on the bus or the train. There are specific occasions in which you can use any of the prepositions, and actually the meaning will be similarly the same, especially between in and at. You can say Sarah, it's still in school, or you can say Sarah, it's still at school. However, it's really important to take into consideration that even that they sound the same, their meaning is just similar. It's not the same, because when you said Sarah, it's still in school, basically you're referring that she's learning, she's doing something. Maybe she's doing some extracurricular thing inside of the school. However, when you say Sarah, it's still at school, it isn't necessarily that she's still learning. She might be at the location of the school, but not necessarily learning or inside of any building, nothing like that. The same example with the beach. I think they are at the beach, or also I can say I think they are on the beach. They are quite similar. However, when they are at the beach, that means that actually they are in the place, the beach itself. But when they are on the beach, they are inside of the beach, swimming or something like that. And another one that you can use in order for you to talk about places is by. By, you can say, I'm waiting by the car, or I can say, put your bag by the door and sit down. Actually, by in this type of examples is used to refer to put something by next to that thing. So I'm waiting by the car means that I'm next to your car. So I'm waiting right here, right next to your car. Or put the bag by the door and sit down means that you can maybe right at the door, right behind or something like that. There's a corner in which you might be able to put your bag and then have a seat. Let's say that actually some prepositions are quite similar to by is near or next to, because we can say they live by the school as the beginning, as I said in the example, but also you can say they live near the school or they live next to the school. So as at the end of this video, you might be thinking that there's a confusing thing about the prepositions of places. However, remember that in order for you to learn them better, it would be better if you learn them with the words around them. And actually, by going over the rules that or examples that we saw today, you will be able to make better choices at the moment that you need to choose between one of them, and in order for you to use it. So guys, that was all for today. This was Will on Fluent English. I hope you like it. Remember, preposition of places, add in, on, and by. So have a good week and wait for this next lesson. Remember to stay home, don't go out, take care of yours. See you around.